He remembered the fire, the screams, the light that tried to erase him. They believed they had destroyed him, that the King of Shadows had vanished from existence. But deep beneath the earth, where no light dared to reach, his eyes opened once more. The world had celebrated his silence as defeat, but they did not understand. Silence was not his end. It was his rebirth. He rose from the ashes of his own ruin, his body no longer flesh alone, but forged in shadow and flame. The chains that once held him dissolved at his mere thought. His heartbeat echoed like thunder in a tomb that trembled with every breath he took. His throne had been shattered, his armies scattered, his name erased from the tongues of men. Yet none of it mattered, for a king is not defined by his throne. A king is defined by his will to rise when all have declared him fallen. He stepped forward, and the ground itself cracked. His armor formed around him, drawn not from the forge of blacksmiths, but from his rage itself. Obsidian plates fused with ancient power wrapped his body, and from the earth emerged his great sword, once broken in war, now reforged in vengeance. I was not defeated, he whispered to the dead silence around him. I was only waiting. Above the ground, the kingdoms thrived in ignorance. The nobles danced under golden chandeliers, unaware that their peace was built upon a lie. The priests of light cried victory to cheering crowds, promising a new age of purity. Heroes laid down their swords, believing their battles had ended. They all believed the darkness was gone. Yet in the forbidden lands, a storm gathered. It did not howl like wind nor roar like thunder. It moved silently, steadily, as a predator stalking prey. The first to sense it were not men, but beasts. Wolves lowered themselves to the ground, not in fear, but in submission. The sky darkened, though no clouds formed. It was not the weather changing. It was reality itself bending to something greater than any mortal could comprehend. The Shadow King walked across the barren plains, each step leaving molten embers in his wake. The darkness welcomed him, swirling around him like a loyal hound. Demons crawled from the cracks of the earth, not to attack, but to kneel. Spirits of the abyss hovered in reverence, whispering his forgotten name with dread and worship. He did not smile. He did not rage. His eyes burned with one steady truth. They had tried to break him. They had failed. He paused at a cliff overlooking the distant kingdoms, where towers shone with gold and banners of peace fluttered in the wind. They celebrate my silence, he murmured, believing it means surrender. But silence is where power is born. It is in silence that storms gather before they strike. His voice carried on the wind, reaching far beyond the plains, far beyond the mountains, into the dreams of kings and queens who woke in terror without knowing why. The world had forgotten fear. He would teach it to them again. He reached out his hand, and the shadows obeyed. From every corner of the darkened lands, creatures gathered. Fallen warriors rose from graves, armored in black steel. Winged beasts emerged from the abyss, their eyes glowing with infernal fire. The armies of shadow had returned, and at their head walked the conqueror who had risen from death itself. He stopped before a colossal gate of stone. Beyond it lay the first kingdom that had betrayed him. Long ago, they had sworn loyalty in his name, only to turn against him when the light offered them false promises. Their king now sat on a stolen throne, his people drunk on the illusion of safety. The Shadow King raised his sword. Flames of black fire surged across the blade. The ground split open as the gates crumbled into dust. There were no war cries, no speeches, only silence. His army marched forward like the inevitable doom of time itself. The city guards ran in panic, shouting orders that no one followed. Bells tolled, not in warning, but in terror. The King of Shadows walked through the mayhem, untouched by blade or arrow. Every man who approached him fell to their knees, not from force, but from the unbearable weight of his presence. He made his way to the throne room. The stolen king trembled as the doors burst open. "You were dead," the false king stammered. The conqueror's crimson eyes met his. "I was becoming," The false king reached for his sword, but his hand never touched it. With a single motion, the conqueror's blade cleaved the throne in two. The room fell silent. Not a single guard dared breathe. The false king knelt, not by choice, but by truth. For in that moment, he realized he was not staring at a man. He was facing destiny.